Cool. So then I'll just jump right into like how websites work. And for a website, you need a domain. Domain is needed. There's no way that someone will visit a website without a domain. So think of it like a home address. So if you want someone to visit you, you're going to tell them your home address. And that's basically what a domain is. So there's a lot of .com is like the most used. And it's the one that you probably would tend to buy because everybody knows, oh, I'm just going to go whatever your name is, .com. That's usually the instinct, right? It's kind of shifting a little bit now with search engines like Google, but .com is usually your go-to. But there's so many other ones. So there's like .org, .net. Obviously, like schools is .edu, and they're making plenty. So like photography, there's .photography, there's .studio, there's .restaurant, there's like .everything now. They're a little bit more pricier, so like .coms are usually like between like $10 to $15 per year when you register them, and then things like probably like Studio or something maybe like $40, $50 per year. So they kind of range. Y'all have heard of GoDaddy, right? So GoDaddy's the one, like the most popular one. They have a lot of ads out with like Danica Patrick, things like that. So that's a domain. Then key thing that you do need to understand is what a domain, basically a DNS, which stands for Domain Name System. So this is basically like how the domain is configured. So if you purchase like alamo.edu, there's a set of instructions of where certain things point to for that domain. So for example, if someone sends an email, where does that go? If someone types in www.alamo.edu, where does that go? You don't type in anything before alamo.edu, what does that do? So there's a set of instructions that the domain name system understands and kind of points you where you need to go. So these are things that usually a web designer won't do, but for when you're doing it yourself or you're in a small business, you're going to be doing these things. So you definitely want to learn how to set this stuff up. GoDaddy makes it very simple. That's why they're very popular. So just to kind of give you an example, one of the types of configuration is called an A record. So if you set up an A record, the little @ symbol means like the root. So basically, like you don't type in anything before the domain. Where does that point to? And I put an IP address because an IP address represents a server, or like basically a computer that hosts your websites. So all those things are pointed to a server somewhere. So notice I have the @ and then the www. Technically, you can point to two different websites if you configured it differently. So like if someone didn't type www, it goes to one site, and when someone types in www. It can go to a complete different website. It can be done by mistake or on purpose, right? Or if you have like a cool app or something like that, so you can say app.alamo.edu, that goes to an app or something like that. So it goes to a server, and then server is basically where it hosts your website files. So this is called a web hosting server. Everything in that server is all your HTML files, your CSS files, all your images, your style, everything. Everything's in there. I say HTML. There's also platforms like WordPress, which are PHP files, or you can have another platform that has different types of files, but they're all under a web server. So that's really the concept there. So it just basically houses all those files. You can have databases and all that in there. These hosting companies, they have multiple locations that that store these servers. So for example, the big ones, they'll have one in Texas, like in every state, for example. So that way, when someone visits your website and they're in Texas, they can access your website super quick. Or if they're located if they're in Europe, they also have a server over there. So if you have traffic coming in Europe, it doesn't take a long lag to connect to your site. Also, if your website, if one of their servers goes down, right? Like let's just say one of their facilities like sets on fire or something like that, they have multiple locations, so that way your site's still up, it doesn't affect you, and your site's not down. So that's basically what a server or a web hosting company does. So just kind of to reiterate that, so if you go to your browser, you type in alamo.edu, it goes to the DNS server, and then returns back that IP address based on that configuration. The computer knows now where to point to, so it goes to that IP, which is a web server, has all your HTML files, and then returns back what you see on the browser.